Think about the pants you're wearing right now. Whether they are baggy, skinny, distressed, or classic, they all share a DNA that goes back much further than you might think. Did you know your favorite pair of jeans actually started as a total solution to a massive wardrobe disaster? We are diving deep into the scandalous history of the pants that literally conquered the entire world. Imagine a world where your clothes were your own worst enemy. It sounds a bit dramatic, but for the people building the foundation of modern America, it was a daily struggle. Picture this. It's the 1870s, and you're a miner working in a dark, damp cavern, or a laborer hauling heavy lumber. You're hauling heavy rocks, crouching in the mud, and doing the most intense physical labor imaginable. Then suddenly, you hear that dreaded sound, a loud, sharp rip. Your seams give out. Your pockets tear off completely, spilling your expensive tools into the dirt. Your pants are literally falling apart at the seams during a hard day's work. Total nightmare, right? That was the harsh reality for miners and laborers in the late 19th century, until a certain legendary duo stepped in to save the day, and the entire fashion industry in the process. Today, we're introducing you to the true main characters of this epic saga. First, we have the business mogul himself, Levi Strauss. Levi wasn't just some guy selling fabric. He was the ultimate it boy of the 19th century San Francisco business scene. He was a savvy immigrant businessman who had built a massive dry goods empire from the ground up through sheer grit and intelligence. He had the money, he had the massive warehouse, and he had the high-level connections. On the other side of the coin, we have the secret genius tailor, Jacob Davis. Based in the dusty, quiet town of Reno, Nevada, Jacob was a humble craftsman with a very big problem to solve. These two were the ultimate power couple of the 1870s business scene, even if their partnership started with nothing more than a desperate letter and a brilliant idea. What really happened to spark this global phenomenon? It's a story of innovation born out of pure necessity, a quick rundown of how a simple letter changed everything. Jacob Davis had a customer who was completely fed up. Her husband was a big man who went through pants like they were made of thin tissue paper. She begged Jacob to make something that would actually hold up to the pressure. Jacob had a stroke of genius that sounds simple to us now, but was revolutionary at the time. He decided to use copper rivets. By placing these tiny metal fasteners at the points of greatest tension, like the corners of the pockets where men kept their heavy metal tools, he created something indestructible. This was the birth of the waist overalls. And hey, a little pro tip, don't call them jeans yet. In the 1870s, that word hadn't entered the popular lexicon for this specific garment. They were heavy-duty work gear, pure and simple. The vibe of this era was absolutely electric. We're talking about the Wild West meeting industrial ingenuity. How did a dry goods merchant from San Francisco end up creating the most iconic garment in human history? It wasn't just about clothing. It was a revolution in how we think about durability and style. Levi Strauss saw the potential in Jacob's tiny copper rivets and knew he had a gold mine on his hands. Pun intended. They were creating the world's first high-tech apparel, designed to survive the harshest conditions on Earth. The dusty streets of Nevada were a far cry from the bustling ports of San Francisco, yet these two men found a common language in denim and metal. Jacob was the dreamer, and Levi was the engine that made those dreams reality. Their collaboration wasn't just a business deal, it was the birth of a legend that every single one of us has in our closet today. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. But wait, you didn't think it was all easy money and celebrations, did you? It wasn't all smooth sailing for our favorite denim duo. There was a major legal hurdle that almost stopped the denim empire before it even began. Just as they were getting ready to change the world, they hit a massive roadblock that involved the United States Patent Office and some very skeptical officials. Wanna know the tea? The story of how they almost lost it all before they even started is enough to make any entrepreneur break a sweat. It turns out that claiming ownership over a piece of metal and some fabric was a lot more scandalous and difficult than you'd ever think. Rumors say the competition was already breathing down their necks, ready to steal the design. Do they secure the patent, or does the dream fall apart? So, let's get right into the nitty-gritty of what fashion historians and business experts call the collab of the century. Was the partnership between Levi Strauss and Jacob Davis a match made in heaven, or just a deal of absolute cold necessity? Honestly, it was a bit of both. and the chemistry between these two was something for the history books. On one side, you've got Levi Strauss, who was essentially the undisputed it boy of the 19th century San Francisco business scene. He wasn't just a guy with a shop, he was a savvy immigrant businessman who had built a massive empire from the ground up through grit and high-level strategy. Levi knew everyone who was anyone in the booming California economy. He had the massive warehouse, the high-end distribution networks, and most importantly, he had the capital. He was the face of the operation, the one with the charisma and the connections to make a product go viral before going viral was even a thing. But even a titan like Levi knew he needed a true innovation to keep his dry goods business ahead of the pack. Enter the man behind the innovation, Jacob Davis. While Levi was navigating the high society circles of San Francisco, Jacob was working away in the shadows of his humble tailor shop in Reno, Nevada. Jacob was the definition of a secret genius. He was a master craftsman who understood the daily struggles of the working man better than anyone else. He had seen the wardrobe disasters firsthand, but it was his specific solution that would change the course of human history forever. He had developed the million-dollar idea of using copper rivets to reinforce the points of strain on work pants. But here's the part that will absolutely blow your mind. Jacob Davis almost lost it all before the dream even started. Can you believe the most famous pants in the entire world were nearly abandoned over just 68 bucks? That was the filing fee for the patent back then, and Jacob, being a struggling tailor in a dusty town, simply didn't have the cash. He knew he had something revolutionary, but he was broke. He took a massive leap of faith and wrote a desperate letter to Levi Strauss, proposing a partnership. He basically said, "I have the genius invention, you have the money, let's own the world together." This brings us to what we have to call the rivet scandal. Why were these tiny pieces of metal such a massive deal? We're looking at the actual receipts here. The patent was officially filed on May 20th, 1873. It was all about those tiny copper bits that kept the pockets from ripping under the weight of heavy gold nuggets or metal tools. To us today, a rivet seems like a small aesthetic detail, but in the 1870s, it was like discovering a superpower for clothing. It was the secret sauce that made their pants stand out from every other piece of clothing on the market. Simple? Yes. Genius. Absolutely. This patent gave them a total legal monopoly on the design for years, leaving the competition scrambling in the dust and trying to figure out how they did it. But why denim? And why that specific iconic indigo blue? Was it a high fashion choice or just something practical? Well, it's a bit of both. And the reason is totally fascinating. Denim was chosen because it was incredibly durable, but the indigo dye was the real MVP. See, indigo doesn't fully penetrate the cotton fibers, it sits on the surface. This meant that as the pants were worn and washed, they didn't just fade into a mess. They developed a unique character and soul. More importantly for the miners, the dark blue color was perfect for hiding the dirt and grease of a hard day's work. It was the ultimate low-maintenance look. Of course, when you have a hit this big, the competition is always lurking. Other brands were hiding in the shadows, trying to figure out how to steal the spotlight or replicate that rivet magic. There were plenty of rival tailors who tried to create their own versions of strong pants. But none of them had the secret sauce, the official Levi's seal of quality. However, you won't believe the wardrobe malfunction that eventually led to the removal of one specific rivet in a very sensitive area. Rumor says a design flaw caused a literal hot mess for men standing near a fire. Stay tuned, because the crotch rivet disaster is a detail you won't believe. So about that sensitive wardrobe malfunction I mentioned earlier. Yeah, the famous crotch rivet had to go, because cowboys sitting around campfires in the freezing desert night were getting a very literal, very painful burn in a place no one ever wants a burn. Metal conducts heat, and well, you can imagine the rest. Talk about a design flaw that needed a quick fix, right? But once that little issue was sorted out, the real magic started to happen. How on earth did these rugged, dirt-stained waist overalls move from the dark, damp mines of Nevada all the way to the glossy, high-fashion covers of Vogue? It is honestly the ultimate fashion glow-up story of all time. For decades, denim was strictly for the working class, the miners, the railroad workers, and the rugged cowboys out west. If you wore jeans in a big city back then, people probably thought you were just lost on your way to a cattle ranch. But then came the mid-20th century, and everything changed when Hollywood stepped in and flipped the script. We absolutely have to talk about the original bad boys of cinema, because they are the main reason you probably own 5 different pairs of jeans right now. Think about James Dean in Rebel Without a Cause, or Marlon Brando in The Wild One. Before these iconic stars hit the screen, denim was just a tool for labor after them. It became a symbol of pure, unadulterated rebellion and youthful defiance. Suddenly, every teenager in America wanted to look like a misunderstood rebel, and the mandatory uniform for that look was a crisp white t-shirt and a pair of Levi's. Schools actually started banning denim because the pants were seen as too subversive and dangerous for the classroom. Can you imagine being sent home today because your pants were just too cool for school? That is some legendary status right there. And then there's the enduring mystery of the 501s. Have you ever wondered what those specific numbers actually mean? Well, the lore is a bit hazy because the massive earthquake and fire in San Francisco back in 1906 actually destroyed a huge chunk of the company's early archives and records. But what we do know is that 501 was the lot number assigned to their very best. Top of the line, copper riveted waist overalls. Over time, that number became a worldwide shorthand for quality and authenticity. Today, the 501 is still considered the gold standard for celebrity street style. From modern supermodels to legendary rock stars, it is the classic fit that every other brand tries to replicate but never quite masters. It is the original blueprint for every single pair of jeans made since that historic day in 1873. Fast forward to the present day, and the obsession has reached a whole new level of crazy. Have you seen what is happening in the vintage community lately? The internet is absolutely buzzing with stories of denim hunters who literally crawl through abandoned, dangerous, and spider-infested mines just to find a crusty, decayed pair of jeans from the late 1800s. These aren't just old clothes to these people. They are priceless historical artifacts. Some of these mine-found Levi's have actually sold for nearly $100,000 at high-end auctions. It is wild to think that something meant for a 19th century miner to sweat in is now a luxury collector's item that people would kill for. And don't even get me started on social media trends. Influencers are constantly gatekeeping their favorite vintage washes and specific fits, trying to keep the best thrifting spots a total secret from the rest of us. The FOMO is very real, guys, but what is the vibe for the future of our favorite pants? Everyone in the fashion world is asking the same question. Is the era of the skinny jean finally over for good? It really seems like we are pivoting back to those loose, rugged, and relaxed roots that Jacob Davis and Levi Strauss first envisioned over a century ago. But there is a much bigger and more important conversation happening too. With the rise of fast fashion, the brand is under constant pressure to stay sustainable and ethical. Can the kings of denim lead the way into a greener and cleaner future? We are already seeing more recycled materials and innovative water-saving technology being used in production, which is a massive win for the planet we all share. At the end of the day, whether you are a high fashionista walking the runway or just someone who throws them on to run a quick errand at the grocery store, we all owe a massive thank you to the humble tailor and the savvy businessmen who started this whole movement. Levi Strauss and Jacob Davis didn't just make a pair of sturdy pants. They created a global uniform that transcends borders and generations. So what is your favorite denim memory? Did you have a pair that you wore until they literally fell apart at the seams? Drop a comment below and let's spill the tea on your favorite fits. If you love this deep dive into the secret life of your favorite brands, do not forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more.